Well, believe it or not, we're on episode 25 of the Nate Stowe Show. Good so far. Hope you guys are enjoying it. If not, well, turn off. Outside of that, though, let's get to today's show. So, can I just lose weight doing cardio? I've been reading a little bit more. I was on vacation in Chicago, so didn't watch too many movies, read a few books. So, my cookbook, The Keto Diet, review there. And finally, did a little bit of golfing today. It's the day before July 4th. It was busy out there. Just something, a takeaway that I think really applies to a lot of folks in their fitness when they're trying to get started, just like I'm trying to get started with golf. So, let's start with, can you lose weight by just doing cardio? And the short answer is yes, absolutely, you can lose weight only doing cardio. The follow-up answer, though, is it is probably the single hardest way that I know to go about trying to lose weight. I really couldn't think of a harder way than to just do cardio. A couple reasons why. Number one is that about 70% of your calories are burned through just your resting metabolic rate. So that's how many calories you burn just being alive. If you laid in bed, just had your heart pumping, your lungs working, your brain dreaming or thinking or what have you, that's going to burn calories, about 70% of them each day. On top of that, about 10% of your calories are burned through the different types of foods you eat. So if you eat, something high in fiber like oatmeal instead of something lower in fiber like, mac and cheese, you're going to burn more calories just digesting the oatmeal versus digesting mac and cheese. And the remaining 20% of calories that you burn each day are through physical activity. So that's going to be cardio, that's going to be lifting weights, that's going to be any, golfing or shopping or walking the dog, just any activity levels you're getting in, okay? So just doing cardio is going to be the hardest way to do this because all it's going to affect is that 20% of the physical activity. So it's not going to affect 80%, which just has to do with your resting metabolism and food you're eating, all right? So you're only addressing 20% of the pie. Now here's the other thing. When you get good at doing cardio, you become more efficient. This is why you run faster and why you don't breathe as hard. Well, because you're more efficient, you don't burn as many calories doing it. So you're only affecting 20% of your total caloric burn every day. And as you get better, that becomes a lower and lower number because you're more efficient. And the only way to continue to burn more calories on that 20% part is to either A, run further, so longer commitments in the day, or B, run more often, like twice a day. And both of those options are going to start to creep into like different injuries associated with trying to log 1,000,000 miles a week running or biking or any repetitive movement, really. So, least efficient way I can think of. So, what begs the question of what is the most efficient way? Well, the most efficient way would be just to pay attention to what you're eating. So 70% of your calories is through your metabolism. So just sitting there, lying in bed, watching Netflix, just moving around, that's the majority of your calories. So if you know what that metabolic rate is, let's call it 2,000 calories a day, just simply eat less than that, 1,900 calories a day, 1,800 calories a day, and you're going to end up having weight loss. And you can do it inside, in your bed. You don't have to go out there and sweat and get shin splints and have your hip hurt. Two, if you double down on this, you don't just eat less calories, eat less than your metabolic rate, your resting rate, then if you eat high quality foods, then you're going to get an extra calorie burn from digesting that food and trying to turn it into something your body can use for energy. So now you're addressing 80% of the things that cause you to burn calories to get you into that calorie deficit, and you can do it all in the air conditioner while watching TV. So easiest way is address your nutrition. Number two would be resistance training, strength training, something like that. And that's because versus just cardio, when you do the activity of weight training, not only do you burn calories doing it like you do in cardio, but you continue to burn calories for up to 3 days later. And that's back to your resting metabolic rate. So just laying in bed, if I just did cardio after 6 hours, I go right back to the regular amount of calories I would from laying in bed. But if I lifted weights instead, now I'll keep burning the same calories laying in bed, but slightly more for up to 3 days. So cool shit, right? Okay. Number two, resistance training causes your muscle mass to increase. Your muscle mass equals your metabolism. So 70% of the calories that we're burning lying in bed, we can make that number higher, not just in the short term because we did this type of workout. We can make it higher in the long term because we're a more muscular individual. So for instance, right now, Laura and I are doing a little bit of a diet together. And that's not, diet's just what you eat, but it's the best term to relate to folks. But I get to eat about 1,000 extra calories every single day because I weigh about 60 pounds more than her. And that's it. Because I'm about 60 pounds heavier, I get to eat a lot more food. Simple, right? Finally, resistance training versus just cardio is cardio is catabolic to muscle. So we mentioned that resistance training can grow muscle, so you get a higher resting metabolism. Well, that's called anabolic. The opposite is catabolic, meaning that you lose muscle mass. So over the long term, your resting metabolic rate actually goes down. So now you have to continue to eat less. So yeah, you can lose weight doing it, but I couldn't think of a harder way to approach a weight loss program. Cool. Moving on. Book review, The Keto Diet. Now, this could really just be about any cookbook. This was like a really good one just for all the different recipes. There were so many like super healthy recipes. This wasn't even a true keto diet. It was a higher protein variation. She broke down the differences of how to make it higher, lower protein to fit you and your needs. But overall, I think more people need to get cookbooks. Anytime I hear somebody says they don't know how to cook, I just say, have you tried a cookbook? You know, and with the internet today, you don't even need cookbooks. You can just go Google top whatever recipes and come up with like super long lists. You can go to Pinterest. I mean, just with all the resources out there, there's no need to like not know how to make anything that's different types of foods that are relatively good for you. And again, back to that last question, you could approach where 80% of your weight loss is going to come from, and you could do it all in the air conditioner. So recommend that cookbook. You know, again, I've also got paleo cookbooks. I got an Atkins cookbook. I got an anabolic whatever cookbook. I got a slow cooker cookbook. So cookbooks in general. But that particular one just had a bunch of recipes. We got about a dozen out of it that we've been using regularly. So if you're on my newsletter, my email newsletter, you've probably seen a handful of them lately. So enjoying that one. And finally today, went out. I want to get in my my Wednesday practice session. I practice Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. However, I'm just getting into golf, and I didn't think about the fact that tomorrow's the 4th of July, and a lot of people took off early at work. It appears because the whole driving range was completely full. And if there's one thing I don't do lines. Like, I don't like to wait around in line in the car. I don't like to wait in line at the grocery store. I don't like to wait in line at an amusement park. I don't like lines. Maybe if you drew lines, I'm okay with that. But anything I'm standing or waiting in, I don't like. So when I saw that, you know, to me, the driving range, I'm like, well, that's off the option. So instead of just backing it up and going home and calling it a day, I just worked on putting and chipping. That's 2/3 of the game anyway. So what can I work on? And what I wanted to do is take it. And, you know, this actually arose earlier last week when I was in Chicago. I was working out at the hotel gym in the morning, and all the equipment was taken. We didn't have what I needed for a normal workout. You know, I did what I could. I looked at what I could do versus focusing on what I couldn't do. And I would suggest you do the same thing, where maybe you got the perfect routine and you walk into the gym and the gym's completely busy. Or maybe you got a great routine but you're on vacation, and so you're going to have to deal with hotel gyms and body weight. Instead of focusing on what you can't do and how this isn't perfect, and then that ends up being a whole lot of nothing. Focus on like, what can you do? How can I adjust? How can I make the best out of this situation so that, you know, maybe I'm not taking 10 steps towards my goal. Maybe I'm just taking 1. But I'd rather take 1 step than take 0 steps or go backwards. So focus on what you can do. That's it for episode 25. Friday, we'll do episode 26. Have a great day. Have a happy 4th of July. Try not to blow your hands off with any fireworks. And enjoy some barbecue.